What is up, you guys? Welcome back to another video on the YouTube channel. My name's AJ, and we're going to be talking MMA. Today, I'm joined by a special guest by the name of the MMA Rodent, the biggest rat in the game. Okay?
Your boy had to come on the channel, set things straight. A lot of off picks last time around. This time we're gonna get it right.
Yeah, so guys, obviously, we know UFC 300 lock of the week parlay hit on my behalf, but unfortunately, Oliveira did not come through for the boys, and we had a lot of money on him, so we'll be looking to make our money back this weekend. Okay. So obviously, this weekend's card is UFC 302 taking place in Newark, New Jersey. Okay, main event: Dustin Poirier versus Islam Makhachev. So let's get into the early fights on this card. We're going to be going over our predictions, and then at the end, we'll give you guys some parlays and the lock of the week. All right. So first fight on the card, we got Andre Lima versus Mitch Raposo. I can start this one off, MMA Rodent. So personally, we know that Andre Lima very recently got a win via DQ when his opponent bit him. Personally, I think he was losing the first two rounds in that fight. And considering the odds, I think Mitch Raposo is currently at about plus 200. Personally, I would say that this fight is dog or nothing. I can't really say who I think is going to win. I'll lean Raposo slightly. 9-1 versus 8-0. Close fight, both young, hungry. But considering the odds, I'm simply going to have to pick Mitch Raposo for my pick.
I'm gonna have to disagree, unfortunately. I think coming off that fight, I rewatched it today. He looked shaky. I don't know if he was winning, but he got an aura about him after he got a big pop. I think people are going to be rooting for him, and I'm confident he will get the win, probably by decision.
Okay, so
Andre Lima, to make things clear.
already we got different picks on the first one. Next up, we have a women's MMA fight: Jocelyn Edwards versus Aline Perez, the queen of twerking. All right, so personally, Jocelyn Edwards, I feel like she's fighting a lot nowadays, and she's always a live underdog, always coming in at, pick 'em odds. She has good stand up, good striking, basically female equivalent of Leon Edwards, I guess you could say. But I think Eileen Perez should be able to implement her grappling well enough to get a unanimous decision 29-28.
I'm gonna have to agree on this one. I've watched many Island Paris fights. They're pretty entertaining. She's a women's fighter that I follow pretty religiously, and I would say that due to her dominance that she has shown, she has good grappling. She's a strong girl. I think she gets this done by decision too.
Yeah, personally, I've only watched her twerking compilations, but I think she gets
Yeah,
this one done.
I've only watched her late at night, so
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know what I mean.
it's one of those. But next up, we got Basil Hafez versus Mickey Gall. Do you want to start this one off?
Of course. I'm going to go ahead and say Basil Hafez gets it done because I like that he lost a pretty competitive fight to JDM, a very good contender. And I think Mickey Gall has passed it. Yeah, so there's they're both new in the UFC. Basil Hafez has only competed once in the UFC, but I think he gets this done.
Okay. This one's very close to me. I think the odds here should be closer. And I'm going to have to lean Basil Hafez because of that JDM loss, as the MMA Rodent said. But again, this one, I would not bet on it. The odds minus 300. Yeah, you can look at their wins. Like they're literally 7-5, 8-4. Wouldn't want to put too much money on this fight. Also, like they're exactly the same age. So I'll say Basil Hafez, but not too confident. Next up, we have, let's see.
Alex Morona versus Nico Price,
Oh,
right?
yeah, veterans.
The vets.
Okay, personally, for this one, oh, it's their second fight. Yeah, I'm gonna pick Alex Morono. I know he's getting a bit older, doesn't seem too engaged in the fight game. He's focusing more on his coaching career right now. But when he's in the cage, like I still think he should be able to get this done. Moderate favorite, Nico Price. He's all right, but at the end of the day, if you lose to Robbie Lawler, like I think Alex Morono gets this one done. But I'll say decision.
I agree. I watched his fight with Buckley, and we've seen what Buckley has been able to do in the welterweight
True, true.
division. Where Nico Price got finished very early by very old Robbie Lawler.
Yeah.
So just because of recency bias, I would say Alex Morono.
Fair. Again, not too great odds, not too confident. Wouldn't put him in any parlays, so to say. Next up, Phil Rowe versus Jake Matthews. This one's pretty interesting because, Jake Matthews, he's had a lot of hype on him throughout his UFC career, but I can't say, he's really turned that hype into something too great. You see here, he wins one, he loses one. And Phil Rowe coming off a loss here versus Neil Magny, not too great, but other than that, he gets KOs and TKOs. Jake Matthews recently lost to Michael Morales, who's a great prospect, so can't really say that's too bad of a win. Beat Darius Flowers, lost to Matthew Semmelsberger. I'm going to have to pick, I'll say the Celtic kid gets this one done. What do you think?
Um, there's no shame in losing to Michael Morales at this point. I'd say this is a pick 'em, but I'm going to side with Jake Matthews as well. Yeah.
As we can see, the topology is very close, but we're both leaning Jake Matthews here. Probably going to be a close fight. Phil Rowe could get the sneaky KO. We saw Semmelsberger give Jake Matthews trouble. So next up, we have one for the grappling purists here. Grant Dawson versus Joe Selecki. You want to start this one off?
Yeah, obviously two grapplers. Grant Dawson was a very highly touted prospect, but he obviously got shut down in the first round by Bobby Green. Came into an awful walkout song, like probably the worst in UFC history. I don't like him at all, but I think this is like a layup fight for him to get back in the win column. Uh, I think Grant Dawson can finish him, and that's my prediction.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because Joe Selecki, he's more of a jiu-jitsu grappler, whereas Grant Dawson is more of a wrestler. So I'm just gonna say that the minute winning ability is obviously gonna be on Grant Dawson's side. So I see like maybe the first round can be a bit close, but as the fight goes on, I think become more clear that Grant Dawson's in the lead, and I'll say he gets this one done by decision. But obviously, that Bobby Green loss is very concerning. Like I don't really get how you get one tapped by Bobby Green at his age. You can like that fight almost looked scripted, to be honest. Like how's the main event minus 500 getting one tapped? Pretty dodgy, but I'm gonna say Grant Dawson by a unanimous decision. Next up, we have a very exciting fight. I'd even call this the people's main event, so to say. A pure kickboxing match between Roman Kopylov and Cesar Almeida. So let me kick this one off. Personally, I've made some money betting on Cesar Almeida as he's always coming in at underdog odds, which makes sense because he literally only has 5 fights in MMA. Most of you will probably know that in the past he has a victory over Alex Pereira in kickboxing, and he has been ranked, I think, probably as the best kickboxer in the world at a certain point. Meanwhile, Roman Kopylov, uh, you can like doesn't have too many fights. He's been trying to improve his MMA game. We all know he is a very talented kickboxer, great kicks, has been able to get some knockouts versus lesser opponents. He got kind of exposed by Fluffy Hernandez, which a lot of us could see coming, as doesn't really have the best takedown defense. But what makes this fight so interesting is that there's not going to be any takedowns, in my opinion, or there might be one attempt from Roman Kopylov if it's not going too well. So I see this going down as purely a striking matchup, and the odds, as we see, are pick 'em. and I'm gonna have to pick Cesar Almeida to get this one done as an underdog pick. Not too sure. It honestly it could be TKO round 2 or 3, but I'm gonna say decision Cesar Almeida.
Don't get it twisted. Cesar Almeida, very good kickboxer. However, contrary to Alex Pereira, I don't think his style translates that well to MMA. I wasn't that impressed with him last time out. He obviously got the knockout finish. It was sort of weird. But we're talking about Roman Kopylov here. He comes from the school of Fedor Emelianenko, master of sport in hand to hand combat. This guy is going to wrestle offensively for the first time in a long time. Uh, so I think he's a favorite for a reason. I'm siding pretty heavily toward Roman Kopylov.
Yeah, interesting. MMA Rodent predicting a grappling approach here from Roman Kopylov. Typology is obviously in favor of Kopylov, as you know, there's a lot of Kopylov enjoyers out there nowadays. But again, we're split on this one. Very excited to see how this fight goes down. We're on different sides for that one. Next up, Randy Brown versus Elizeu Zaleski. Do you want to start this one off, bud?
I could. Randy Brown. I love seeing him fight. He has a very fun style. Last time against Muslim
Salikov, yeah.
Salikov, yeah, he got that 1-1-2 knockout, and I think he could do that to anyone in the division. But he could also he's like I wouldn't call him a Terrence McKinney, but like he can get finished and finish people. This time, I think he gets the finish, in my opinion, with a knockout.
Yeah, this one's hard to say honestly because Zaleski is a veteran. You know, he has a win over BSD 2 years ago. It's a bit of time, but we can't discount that one. Then again, also I bet on Rinat Fakhretdinov versus Zaleski, and that fight was very scary because Zaleski, you know, he gave Rinat a lot of trouble there at the end. Meanwhile, Brown, you know, he had that win over Muslim Salikov, but where he was a large favorite and Salikov's old. But it's interesting to note that Zaleski has a loss to Salikov at the same time, but 3 years ago. This one, it's hard to say. Topology is leaning Brown, which I understand. I think I'm also gonna have to go with Brown here. I kind of do like the odds though. You know, we're getting -155 versus a 37-year-old. But then again, Zaleski is a veteran, so not too confident. But I'll say Randy Brown gets this one done. I'll say TKO as well, round two. Next up, another grappling matchup here between Alexander Romanov versus Jailton Almeida. So, as we know, Jailton Almeida recently got exposed by Curtis Blades. A very dodgy knockout. He simply held on to that leg for too long. But meanwhile, I don't think Romanov has been able to establish himself in the UFC. I feel like he came in with a lot of hype. He was 15-0. Then he took 2 losses in a row versus Tybura, where he gassed out and then got TKO'd by Volkov. Got one win back versus a random. So, considering that this is a grappling matchup, and I only really see Romano being able to defeat people who aren't grapplers, I'm gonna have to pick Jailton Almeida to get a comeback win. I think this is a setup fight. You know, they give him a grappler who doesn't really have the striking ability of Curtis Blades. Obviously, not that knockout power. So if it's only grappling, I have to pick Jailton Almeida, and I obviously think he has better striking than Romanov as well.
Yeah, I hate to break it to every MMA fan, but Mal Hadinho is not going anywhere. Uh, in this fight, he obviously has the grappling advantage, and that's everything you need against Alexander Romanov. He doesn't pose that many problems in the striking, in my opinion. Uh, he had it. Romanov wrote the wrong of Volkov, but very. I think it was a very poor performance from him against Volkov. Um, he doesn't look like he's capable of beating Almeida, in my opinion, unless he gets a similar finish to Curtis Blades. But I think it's easier for Curtis Blades because he's so much more physically imposing than Romanov. Yeah, so I think this is another layup fight for Maladenia.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go by submission round two. Uh, Next up, we have entering the main card. Second fight on the main card here. Third, actually. Kevin Holland versus Michael Oleksiejczuk. This one's going to be interesting, I think, because my opinion, like Kevin Holland, like he's always had a lot of hype in the UFC, but whenever I watch him, like there's no passion, like he's not going for the win. Versus MVP, like it looks like a sparring match, like he's never really, he doesn't have the hunger inside of him. But skill wise, he obviously is more skilled than Oleg Jacek. But I don't know. This one is really hard to say because when I see Holland minus 250, like, do you really want to lay your money on someone who you're not sure wants to win the fight? Like, I'm still gonna have to pick Kevin Holland to like. He's gonna outpoint Oleg Jacek in the beginning, and he might be able to tag him, but I'm not. I can't really say he's gonna get a TKO, so I'll just say Kevin Holland decision.
I'm going to disagree with you're saying that Kevin Holland like seems unmotivated when he fights, but I think this time out after such a embarrassing performance from him, uh, or he got embarrassed more so. I think that he's going to be motivated to get the win, and I think he's much more than capable of getting this win. I like him back at 185. I think that's his natural weight,
Yeah.
not his natural weight, but like I think he fits better here. So I'm going to say that 185 Kevin Holland is back. We may see a finish, sort of like he finished Buckley. That's like peak Holland in my opinion, and
True.
we could potentially see him back there again. But obviously he's older, so we'll see. But I think he can win this fight in many ways. So I'm gonna go with Kevin Holland too.
Yeah, I think I'll say decision, but he could get a late finish. Uh, Next up, very exciting matchup here in the middleweight division. Former champion Sean Strickland fights Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa, he had a long layoff, but then came back and had a great performance versus Whitaker. Whitaker got saved by the bell. I had a lot of money on Whitaker, and we got blessed for that one. But now, seeing this matchup here, minus 200 on Sean Strickland, I'm reading Twitter, I'm seeing the YouTube videos. A lot of people still have faith in Paulo Costa, which I understand. But in my opinion, he's one of those fighters that he's always had hype, but when it comes to really cementing himself in the middleweight division, in the upper echelon, he's just never really been able to do it, in my opinion. And Sean Strickland, he recently he lost to DDP, but we all know that fight was literally as close as it can get. Probably the closest fight I've ever seen. 48-47 either side. Personally, I think DDP won the right decision. But for this matchup, it's going to be a striking matchup. I see Sean Strickland winning the rounds. Obviously, the Paulo Costa, his only like really path to victory here is a knockout, in my opinion. And when it comes to like betting on a person to win just for them to get a knockout, I can't really side with that. So for me, I'm just gonna have to pick Sean Strickland, and I'm pretty confident in him.
I'm obviously going Strickland too, based on the fact that I think that he shuts down aggressive kickers very well. We've seen it with Abus Magomedov. We've seen it with Issy. His defense is very good against someone like Paulo because Paulo explodes and uses a lot of energy. And when Paulo realizes that Strickland is not going anywhere, I think that Sean Strickland can march forward similar to what he did in the Issy fight. And I think he gets this done by finish in the later rounds.
That's a bold prediction. Personally, I think Paulo Costa has a great chin. I understand the stamina. He might get gassed around 4 or 5, so that's a good prediction. There's obviously going to be very good odds on a late TKO for Sean Strickland. Personally, I just see him getting the decision. Let's see what the people think. Yeah, large majority in favor of Strickland getting the decision, but still some believers in the Costa knockout. We're both on the Strickland side. Let's get into the main event of the evening. Dustin Poirier probably getting his last ever title shot. He's been talking about maybe retiring after this one versus Islam Makhachev, pound for pound, number one in the world. Khabib's going to be in his corner this time. Do you want to start this one off?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously something special in the air there in New Jersey right now. People are like, it feels like something incredible is going to happen. But I hate to break it to you, this is going to be a early finish for Islam Makhachev. I can just imagine now with Khabib screaming, "Hey, brother, brother!" And Islam sinking in the rear naked choke, stretching him out, Dustin tapping, smiling afterwards because of embarrassment. And yeah, I think that he gets this done in the first or second round by submission.
Yeah, I hate to break it to everyone. Life isn't a movie. Uh, Good guys, sometimes they do finish last. Dustin Poirier, he's going to get submitted in the second round. He's going to go for the guillotine, but he has zero guillotine wins in his career. That is the harsh truth. And do you really think that Islam Makhachev is going to tap to a gilly? It's not going to happen. I
Yeah.
think the gilly is going to work against him. Like a gilly is basically a free takedown for Makhachev. So yeah, round one or round two submission. I'll say round two. Dustin Poirier hangs in there for one round. You know, he was getting battered by BSD in the first round. We can't deny that. Obviously, he did win that fight, but if you know, you know. Okay, staph infection.
We
He,
also have to address the rumors that
yeah,
Islam Makhachev is also dealing with a staph infection.
yeah. The script is going crazy.
Maybe the Poirier camp has some tricks up their sleeve. I don't know, because two times in a row is not a coincidence, in my opinion.
Yeah,
But we'll see. Maybe Poirier can get the finish. I wish there was a line on if Poirier was going to attempt the guillotine during the fight, because I don't think he's going to attempt the guillotine, or maybe actually because he does it pretty
but yeah, I
instinctively.
would consider that a lock. He will be going for that gilly. But as we see here, I mean, this is interesting. 23% is still a lot on Poirier, but yeah, as I said, life isn't a movie. We're both on Makachev to get an early submission. But now, let's get into the lock of the week and the parlay of the week.
Here comes the money. Here we go. Money talk. Here comes the money. Money, money, money. Dollar, dollar. Dollar, dollar. Ching, ching, bling, bling. Cut the chatter. You ain't talking money, then you're talking no.
All right, guys, welcome back to the lock of the week and the lock parlay of the week segment, our fans' favorite segment, because we're going to make you guys a lot of money this weekend, all right? I know last time, as I said, Oliveira, we had a bit of money on him, and obviously it was unfortunate that he lost, but this weekend we're going to make it all back and more. So let's start off with the lock of the week. So a lot of decent underdogs on this card, a few wide lines, unfortunately. And I would like to give you guys a lock of the week that would return about double money. But then again, for lock of the week, I'm just going to have to pick someone who I am very, very confident in winning. So I would have liked to pick Cesar Almeida, as I'm pretty confident in him and he has great odds. But for my actual lock of the week, it's going to be Sean Strickland, who can be found at about minus 240 at best odds. And yeah, that's my lock of the week. Fairly confident he gets it done versus Paulo Costa, or very confident. Yeah, who you got?
For my lock of the week, I'm going with Islam Makhachev by decision. Sorry, by
Sick.
submission,
Cold.
because um, this guy is probably the most dangerous submission artist in the UFC, in my opinion. He doesn't find chokes; he forces you into a choke or a submission. We saw him Americano or Kimura, Dan Hooker.
Yeah.
He has motivation higher than ever to win by submission, because a lot has been made about Dustin winning by submission, and I think Makhachev's ego will, like, he needs to win by submission in order to prove everyone wrong.
Yeah.
So I think that he's going to come in more motivated than ever, and I think he's probably going to win by arm triangle or rear naked choke.
Yeah. Honestly, great lock of the week here by MMA Rodent. I'm very surprised that you can find Makachev by submission for minus 120. Yeah, I honestly don't see how that can go wrong. I don't think Makhachev is gonna TKO Poirier. I just see this being a replay of the Khabib fight. So to be able to get that for minus 120, I have to say that's a great lock of the week. I'll give that, at least a 75% chance of hitting. And for those odds, it should only be 50-50, but great lock of the week. But now, of course, let's get into the most exciting segment, the parlay of the week. This is where the money will be made. So I'll start it off by adding Jailton Almeida, who can be found for minus 290. As we both said, Jailton Almeida pretty much has every advantage here over Romanov: physicality, striking, and grappling. So obviously minus 290 is a bit chalky, and usually for a heavyweight fight, you shouldn't be taking odds like this, but considering it's a grappling matchup, makes it a bit more safe. And then it's not too great to do this, but I'm going to have to add my lock of the week into the parlay of the week. So Sean Strickland can be found for minus 240. Add these two together. You have a minus 110 parlay. For the European listeners, that's about times 1.9. Double your money, good odds. I'm very confident in both of these. So that's my parlay of the week. What you got?
First off, my first leg of my parlay is going to be Moneyline Kevin Holland.
Okay. Can be found for minus 278.
Yes, and then my second leg will be Jailton Almeida, Alexander Romanov going under 2.5 rounds.
Okay, let's see. Under 2.5, that's minus 275, already at minus 117. Anything else?
And my third and final leg is Sean Strickland, Paulo Costa. Fight will not go the distance. So,
Okay.
and this, I was surprised at this. I was hoping for a little bit more value on this one.
Yeah.
But I think it's understood that these two powers that are going against each other, something's bound to happen. It could also be be a replay of the DDP fight going to a decision, but I think Strickland will just have the upper hand late, and Paulo has vicious power, so I think this can end. This is going to end before.
Yeah, honestly, I think that one's pretty good because if Paulo Costa wins, it's obviously not going to go to decision. And Strickland, if he wins, I'd say it's about 60% chance he wins by decision. 40 he gets the finish. So overall, fight to not go decision, pretty value. You're getting plus 200 for the Europeans. That's times 3. A lot of value in that one. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope these parlays hit. I hope you like the predictions. We've gone over every fight. Let me know if you guys agree. Who's your guys' lock of the week? And yeah, just to end things off, Lucas Tracy, you're probably watching this. Obviously, you've been ducking. So yeah, what else can I say? One day, buddy. One day.
And for me, I'm going to have to take my boy Frassel's fight from him. I'm the real money fight MMA guru. I have a lot of dirt on you. I know that you pay for escorts in South Africa, and I know where you live, Kyle. Obviously, I mean, see me. It's on site at this point.
Yeah. So yeah, Kyle, don't try anything. Yeah, guys, leave a like, comment your lock of the week. Let's make some money. See you guys in the next one.